What's going on, guys? Spud here and welcome to episode 18 of Football. In today's episode we are going to do our Premier League predictions, alright? Last year I think the predictions were alright. I got the top 3 right. I think I got, I know I got Bournemouth right. Everyone laughed at me for putting Bournemouth in 12th, but I did get that right. If you do enjoy, please do drop a like and subscribe. It is free to subscribe, of course. And comment what your predictions are down below. So we've got a range of individual and team predictions, and then we have our Premier League table as well, and we also have the match day 1 predictions in this video. I've tried to be unbiased. It's, you know, I actually had to redo this because I did one originally where all I did was rage about Liverpool not going for number 6 now, and I put them in 9th, and I thought that's just a bit too unrealistic in my opinion. So I've done a more realistic one now that I've calmed down. Right, well, let's just get straight into it. So first of all, we have our individual predictions, part 1. So Golden Boot, I've gone for Erling Haaland. I can't see it not being him unless he's out for about 3 months. Even then, I still think he'd win it. He is the best goal scorer in the division. If the ball gets to him inside like the 6-yard box, or even just in the box, he'll probably score. I think you've got good players that can challenge, like Isaac, for example, but I don't think they'll be close. Playmaker of the season, I've gone for Mo Salah. I think that Salah will get. I mean, Salah should have had quite a lot of assists last year. I think he only finished on 9, but he would have had a lot more if his teammates in that Liverpool attack could finish. But yeah, I'm going to go with Salah. I think I went from last year as well. Golden Glove, David Raya. I just think Arsenal's defence will continue to be the best in the league. So I think Raya will win the Golden Glove. Player of the season, I've gone for Rodri. Now, Rodri wasn't even in the official nominees for Player of the Season, which I thought was crazy, to be honest. He was my Player of the Season anyway, and he wasn't even nominated. But I've gone for Rodri. Man City are a different team without him. His impact for Man City is absolutely humongous, and I think, did he get like 16 goal contributions in the Premier League last season or something around that mark? He's a defensive midfielder, but because Man City have so much possession, he basically plays central midfield. Young Player of the Season was a tough one, but I went for Saka. I think it'll just be another relatively good season for Saka, you know, at least 20 goal contributions. I think it'll just be like a normal season for Saka. But I think he will be the best young player of the season, even though he's been around for years. Breakout star. So I was trying to have a look through academy players, like who could the breakout star be, but I couldn't really decide. So I went for someone that not many people will have heard of. Now, he joined Wolves this summer. He was playing last season for Estoril on loan in Liga Portugal. He's Rodrigo Gomez. Now, I think this guy will start for Wolves now that Neto's been sold, but they will still replace Neto with someone else. He's had a really good pre-season for Wolves. And I think once they've got the tough fixtures out of the way, when they start to get games against the other teams in the bottom half of the table, I think he will be really good for them. So yeah, I don't think he'll be as good as Neto when Neto's fit, but I do think that Rodrigo Gomez will surprise a few. I was going to go for Lucas Bergvall from Spurs, but I went for Gomez instead. More individual predictions. So obviously I'm recording this on Thursday. No, sorry, it's been uploaded on Thursday. So obviously we're going to have more signings before the transfer window shuts, but I couldn't go for someone that hasn't been signed yet. So signing of the season, I've gone for Amadou Onana from Aston Villa. I think this signing was really, really good business to replace Douglas Luiz, and most of the games I see Onana play, he does cause issues, for the opposition, of course. And I just think it's a really good signing for Villa, and I think it's someone that is ready for that step up to play Champions League football. Obviously, Douglas Luiz was one of Aston Villa's best players last season, but he wanted to go to Juventus. I think they've replaced him quite well. Flop of the season, there isn't really many players that I could see as a flop of the season because there hasn't really been like a £100 million signing or anything ridiculous this summer so far. So I've gone for Dewsbury Hall. I just don't think he's good enough to play for Chelsea in my opinion. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but yeah, I'm just not too sure about that signing. I know obviously Maresca, he's probably the only reason that they signed him. Manager of the season, I've gone for Guardiola. He wins it every year, I'm pretty sure. They never really give it to someone that has like a remarkable season, like Eddie Howe in 22-23 or Unai Emery last season. It seems to always go for someone in the top two. First manager sacked, Steve Cooper. I'm really surprised he got this job. I thought he was quite poor at Nottingham Forest when they're in the Premier League. I think Leicester will struggle this season a lot. I'm not really impressed by any of their transfer business either so far. I'm going to go with Cooper. I've went for goal and save of the season, but honestly, this is the goal of the season is arguably the hardest one to predict because a centre back could score a bicycle kick or a scorpion kick. You just don't know what will happen. I've gone for Dwight McNeil as goal of the season. And now he has scored a few really good goals in the past, so that was a main reason I went for him. But yeah, we'll just see what happens with that one. If that actually comes out, by the way, that is quite crazy. Save of the season, I've gone for Alisson. I still think Alisson deserved save of the season in last season's award for his save against Newcastle at St James's Park, stopping Almiron's volley somehow. Moving on to team predictions. So most goals scored, I'm going to go for Manchester City. Most goals conceded, I'm going to go for Leicester over Ipswich and Southampton. I know Southampton conceded over 60 goals in the Championship last season, but that's the Championship, it's a different league. They've brought in new recruits in the defensive areas. So yeah, I'm happy with that. Best home record, I'm going to go for Arsenal, just because of how strong their defence is. Best away record, though, I'm going to go for Manchester City. Biggest surprise is Bournemouth. Now, the reason I've gone for Bournemouth is because people are going to expect them to drop off because of Solanke leaving, but we will talk more about that when we get to Bournemouth on the league table prediction. Underachievers, I'm going to go for Chelsea. I feel like I go for Chelsea every season, but I think they won't finish as high as they did last season. Game of the season, I've gone for Tottenham versus Arsenal. Obviously, the Arsenal-Tottenham, both games are quite good last season. You know, there was a 2-2 and then a 2-3. So, yeah, I'll go Tottenham Arsenal's game of the season. Right, now it's time for our table. So, it's going to just show every time we, you know, it'll appear, like, each position, and I'll explain why I put them there. You might have got the gist of who I'm putting in 20th based off first manager sack, most goals conceded. I'm going to go for Leicester. Now, a lot of people are probably not going to put Leicester in 20th, but I am. I just think that their team looks really poor. The only players that I really like in that Leicester team at the moment is Mavididi and Fatawu. I think Buonanotte, who they've signed, is not terrible. I just think they're going to really struggle, and they've not got a manager that I would say would help them stay up. And obviously there could be a chance of a points deduction because of breaking rules when they were last in the Premier League. So I have also put that into factor for them finishing 20th, because if they get like a -6, how many games would it take Leicester to get 6 points? In 19th, I have gone for Ipswich. I do like some of the signings that they're making, to be honest. I know there's potential that they sign Jens Cajuste from Napoli on loan, Greaves, Dela. I think Ben Johnson on the free was really good business as well. They've got Hutchinson permanently. I feel like they could be a bit like Luton, you know. I know they've spent more money than Luton, but I feel like they could be a similar team to Luton where they, you know, they fight really hard in these games, just miss out on points. 18th is Southampton. I think Southampton might have the worst squad of the three, but I really like Russell Martin as a coach. I think that their defence looks a bit better. I'm really impressed by the signing of Chukwuemeka from AZ Alkmaar. And yeah, I think obviously Ben Bertrand Diaz, I think, is a good signing as well. He was one of the only good players Sheffield United had in the second half of last season. we'll have to see ultimately where they come. But I don't think they'll stay up, personally. I think it'll just be another 3 up, 3 down, which is really disappointing, to be honest, because the gap from the Premier League to the Championship is just too much, man. Right, 17th. I feel like this is a really stereotypical pick for 17th, because I've put Nottingham Forest there again. I know they're spending loads of money, but they always seem to spend loads of money. I think they're not bad. They're not gonna. I just don't know if they're gonna score enough goals, because I don't think they're that bad defensively in terms of like expected goals conceded. But they don't really keep many clean sheets, so they might only concede 1 goal, but they might not score any. You know. I'm going to put 17th as well. One of the signings I really like from Nottingham Forest might be getting loaned to Olympiacos, Jota Silva. Yeah, that's really poor from Nottingham Forest, and they will regret that ultimately. 16th, I've put Everton, and I know that's quite low for Everton, seeing as, you know, I think they would have finished 12th without the points deductions last season. But I do think Onana going is a big blow. And Branthwaite's going to miss the start of the season. Yeah, I think they've done some okay business, Everton, but I'm not convinced that. I mean, realistically, you could put 11th to 16th, in my opinion. 10th to 16th in any order that you want to be honest. I know I said I'm not trying to be unbiased. I think that they're going to be a bit weaker in the midfield area. That's it, ultimately. 15th, I put Fulham. You know, I know they're still trying to look at a João Palhinha replacement, but losing João Palhinha is massive. I think signing Smith Rowe is good. Don't get me wrong. Really good signing, but if they can get the right replacement for João Palhinha, they'll finish higher than 15th. I just think that they'll concede too much. You know, their away record was really bad last season in the Premier League, and I expect that to happen this season as well. 14th, I've gone for Brentford. I think that's a bit higher compared to what other people would put them at. I think I could have put them higher. Honestly, I think Brentford are a really underrated team. If you look at the amount of injuries they had last season, especially the defence, I mean, they had no Aaron Hickey and Rico Henry for pretty much the entire season. That's their best fullback pairing. Tony was out for most of the season. It looks like he's either staying or going to Saudi Arabia. They've signed Igor, and he's injured already. That's not good. Fabio Carvalho is a great signing. I'm disappointed he's left Liverpool, to be honest. I think Thomas Frank wants to start playing a 4-2-3-1, and it might be Sharda, Carvalho, and Boomo, and then Tony. I like that a lot. I think they'll do quite well this season. In 13th place, I put Wolves. So I put Wolves in 13th just because obviously losing Neto and Kilman isn't ideal. I don't think they've actually replaced Kilman yet, but there was someone that was on loan for Villarreal last season called Mosquera. He was quite good, but I still think they'll sign another centre-half. I think 13th is fair. I think Gary O'Neill's a really good manager and he deserves that contract extension he got. But I can't put them any higher, I don't think, with losing Neto. And obviously there is talks of potentially losing Aït-Nouri as well. I assume that won't happen, but you never know in the transfer window. 12th place, I put Brighton. Now, this might be a bit of a surprise to put them low. We don't know what Brighton are going to be like this season. Obviously, they've got the youngest manager in Premier League history, but they've spent quite a lot of money for Brighton. And obviously, the news coming in, there's news coming in that they're potentially going to activate Reuters' release clause of £40 million, which from Leeds, which is a lot of money. I don't know where Brighton. I know obviously Brighton sold Caicedo, but they're spending an awful lot of money this window. If they get Reuter for 40 million, they've just signed Gruder for 25, Minte was 33 million, and Pfeiffer was 30 million. They're signing a lot of players, and there's also links with is it Kadioglu, the fullback from Fenerbahce? Yeah, they're spending a lot of money, but I think this season is like a transition season for them. I think if they finish like mid-table, that's not a worry for Brighton because those players will then have more experience in the Premier League, and I think they'll be really good the season after. 11th, Crystal Palace. Maybe some people are thinking like putting Crystal Palace outside the top 10 in the bottom half is kind of a surprise because of how good they were last season. Yes, but I think Elise going is a big blow. You know, there's talks that Anderson might leave, there's talks that Gahey might leave, Sam Johnson's going to leave, obviously Henderson's the number one for when they have that good run of form. I just think Palace are going to be a weaker side this season. I think they'll still be a good side, don't get me wrong, but I think maybe I've been harsh with 11th. To be honest, most people probably have them in the top half, but I'm going to put them in 11th. Now, there's a team that's missing from the bottom half, and you're thinking you put them in the biggest surprise. 10th place, Bournemouth. Right, okay. Before you start going, what the hell are you doing? You're an absolute nutter. I predicted Bournemouth to finish 12th last season. They were my dark horse. Everyone laughed at me. Well, no. Some people laughed at me, okay. Jonesy in particular. They finished 12th. Arguably should have done a bit better. And I'm putting them 10th when they've just sold Dominic Solanke. Yes, I know. Right, so first of all, I really like the signing of Dean Huijsen, centre-back. Obviously, he probably won't be a starter though, for the time being. And Araujo from Barcelona, he had a good loan at Las Palmas. I like that signing because it's an upgrade on Adam Smith, and Max Aaron is always injured. There's talks that they're going to try and sign Evan Nielsen from Porto. You know, he was someone that I touted to potentially be at Tottenham this season. I think that'd be a really good signing for Bournemouth. But obviously as well, the talk of the town is that that Bournemouth might be able to get Mamardashvili, who's the best goalkeeper at the Euros, on loan from Valencia before he joins Liverpool permanently in 2025 to be Alisson's long-term successor. I just think that's a really good back line of Mamardashvili, Kirkesh, Senese, Zabanyi, and Araujo / Aaron. I think they'll finish top half. And I think Lewis Cook is really underrated. I know we talked about Lewis Cook going to the Euros. I think Lewis Cook is really underrated in the Premier League. The amount of recoveries he makes is absolutely superb. And yeah, I think Bournemouth will have a good season, but they have to sign a striker and obviously hope that they get the Mamardashvili loan over the line. And I would say maybe another winger, because I think Semenyo's good, Tavernier's alright, Sinisterra's decent but he's injury prone, Kluivert's good but he kind of plays like centrally rather than on the wing. I think if they get another winger and a striker and Mamardashvili on loan, I think they'll finish 10th. I can't put them any higher though. I just can't. In 9th I've gone for Chelsea. I think they'll just... The amount of games that they'll have this season, I know they've got an inflated squad, they've got hundreds of players, I get that. I think they'll finish 9th, I think they'll rotate too much. I think there'll be games where they have like 65-70% possession, but they don't score. We saw this a lot with Maresca at Leicester last season. I mean, he got outclassed by a director of football at Plymouth Argyle. I think Maresca's a really bad appointment, I'm just going to say it. Their pre-season was horrendous as well, so I think 9th is fair. So to round up the non-European spots, I've put West Ham in here. I think West Ham's transfer business has been amazing, but just like Brighton, I think we need to see them all gel in together for a season first. You know, Kilman, Todibo, Wan-Bissaka. They've upgraded the defence massively, and they've upgraded the attack massively. Just give West Ham time, I would say. I think 8th is a really solid start under Lopetegui. And then I think the season after that, if they get 8th, they will challenge for Europe, without a doubt. I think they'll challenge probably for Europa League, not just Conference League. Anyway, moving on to the European places. In 7th place, I've put Newcastle. Now, I know a lot of people... Newcastle's a really weird one, because I've seen some people put them 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. We don't know. Newcastle is such a obscure team to predict. It's a hard one to predict because... Sorry, I just had to scratch my ear there. We just don't know what Newcastle are going to do, because if they get Gahey, that's a good signing. Tonali's back after a ban. It's almost like a new signing for them. The people are saying, oh, but they don't have any European football this season. It was only 6 games that they played, let's be real, okay? But they did have a lot of injuries. I think they're a right winger away from being higher, to be honest, even if they sign Gahey. Because when Botman comes back from his ACL anyway, yeah, it's obviously good to have amazing options, but what does that mean to Fabian Schär? Does Fabian Schär just not play anymore? I'm not really sure what they would do if they signed Gahey, but I think it's a good move, don't get me wrong. I'm going to put them in 7th though, but that could easily be higher. I just don't know. I'm going to put Man United in 6th. Now, I know they've signed some good players, I get that. Yoro's one for the future, but he's out for a quarter of the season anyway. Xerxes, I'm not sure about where he's actually going to play. Xerxes is a really weird signing now looking at it. I thought he was going to be a striker, but I don't know, ultimately. I think De Ligt isn't a bad signing, but he needs to prove himself. And I like the Mazraoui signing, but he's really injury prone. So we'll have to see how Man United do. I know they want a midfielder as well. Obviously, they've got Europa League. I expect them to get quite far in that competition, at least to the quarterfinals. So that'll be a lot of games for them now that obviously you have to play more games in Europe. So I think 6th is fair. In 5th, I'm going to put Aston Villa. Now, obviously, 5th place could go to the Champions League. I hope, if it's Aston Villa, I do hope they get the Champions League spot. But yeah, I think Villa will have a good season, but obviously Douglas Luiz is a big loss. We get that, but they've replaced him well. I think they need another attacker, to be honest, to compete, because if Ollie Watkins gets injured, who's going to play striker? Rodgers? Bailey? Duran? I mean, they still have Duran, actually. He never left. Yeah, I'll put Villa 5th, though. I think that's fair. So now we have our top 4, which obviously is Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Tottenham in any order. In 4th, I've gone for Liverpool. I wanted to put Liverpool higher. I also wanted to put Liverpool lower. But I couldn't not put Liverpool in the top 4. Arne Slot had a really good pre-season. I do feel like he's been thrown under the bus here. The fact that Liverpool could not get Zubimendi is really disappointing because he upgrades that team massively in the midfield area. But now that Liverpool are, according to journalists, are not looking for an alternative to Zubimendi, is negligence. Okay, it is. So in 22, we miss out on Tchouaméni. 23, we miss out on Lavia and Caicedo. We signed Endor, who is a stopgap signing, who was really good in December and February. Let's not lie here, he was really good for Liverpool in December and February, but he's not the long-term solution, and Slot doesn't even rate him. He wants to send Bajcetic out on loan, which means our pivot would be McAllister and Gravenberch/Jones/Endor, or even like Szoboszlai, which Szoboszlai should be higher up the pitch. I think he's been hung out to dry here, thrown under the bus, you know. I think 4th, Liverpool, there will be games where Liverpool just concede silly goals because the midfield isn't strong enough. It's really disappointing. It's not just throwing Slot under the bus, it's throwing players like Gravenberch, who I think Gravenberch can do a really good job in the pivot, but he shouldn't be the main guy in it with McAllister. It should be someone better than Gravenberch, and then Gravenberch can rotate with those two. Yeah, I'm not convinced. I think Liverpool will be good. The no signings or to back a new manager is disgraceful. I don't care if Liverpool get Mamardashvili. It's not even for this season. I want Mamardashvili because I think Alisson will leave in a couple of years. I think Trent will be gone next year, to be honest, to Madrid for nothing. I think Van Dijk will be gone next season for nothing. I think Salah will be gone for nothing. So this is arguably the best chance Liverpool have been in the Champions League next season. Because otherwise it could just be a long time before they're back in it. It's really disappointing. This summer transfer window has arguably been one of the worst in Liverpool's history. Shocking. Anyway, in 3rd I've gone for Spurs. And that's quite high, I know that, but I'd really like, if they can sort out the defensive issues, because they have a really good defence. If they can sort out the defensive issues, I think Spurs will finish 3rd. We remember how good they were at the start of the season last year. I think that they will. They've made some decent signings. I like the Solanke signings. So you've got Son, Solanke, Johnson, or Kulusevski. I mean, Kulusevski's better in the centre of the pitch than on the wing. Let's be real here. Yeah, I'm going to go 3rd with Spurs. I think that's fair. And I also think that'll be a really successful season if they could maybe win the Europa League or win a Carabao Cup or the FA Cup. I haven't got cup predictions in this video. My next football will be like Europe predictions, Continental Cup predictions. I'll even do like Copa del Rey and stuff like that probably. I'll also do like other leagues, so like La Liga, Bundesliga, you know, continental episode, let's say. Who's going to win the Premier League? It's going to be Manchester City. Yeah. I put Arsenal 2nd. I think they still needed to sign an attacker in this transfer window to win the league for me. I think Man City are going to replace that. Obviously, Man City need to replace Alvarez now. I think they will replace him well. And yeah, I think it'll be 5 in a row for Guardiola, and I think that will cement his legacy, which is already cemented as one of the best coaches of all time. Anyway, it's time for our predictions for match day 1. Let me know what you think of this table in the comments. Game week 1 prediction. So I've put Man U to beat Fulham 2-1. Ipswich 1, Liverpool 3. Arsenal 3, Wolves 0. Everton 1, Brighton 1. Newcastle 3, Southampton 0. Nottingham Forest 1, Bournemouth 1. West Ham 1, Aston Villa 1. Brentford 2, Crystal Palace 2. Chelsea 1, Manchester City 3. And Leicester 0. Tottenham Hotspur 2. So that's going to be the end of this video. Hopefully you've enjoyed. Let me know what your predictions are down below, of course. And yeah, until next time. See you for now. Why did I just say that? Bye. Enjoy the Premier League season. I'm sure it'll be great.